Next, we have incident isolation. And obviously, the end goal is always to get the business back up and running as quickly as possible. We want to mitigate that risk quickly. All right, so we want to do so, however, not at the risk of destroying evidence. And again, I kind of caveat that and say it depends upon the nature of the event, the nature of the breach. Not everything is going to be prosecuted. Not everything will go to court. So we don't want to tie our hands behind our back so much that we're afraid to do anything. So if there's something that has to be done immediately to remediate some system, and you kind of weigh the risks, and as you go through this, you kind of know what's important and what's not. Get the system back up and running. Get the business back up. All right, money coming in to the business is critical, obviously, for any business's survival. So we want to make sure that we do so, but not at the risk of destroying evidence if it's some type of major incident. Next, we want to quarantine. Okay, we want to make sure that we have systems in place to keep the risk isolated and prevent the infection or the breach from spreading. All right, so automated systems can quarantine if certain thresholds aren't met. For instance, we may have some type of network intrusion detection system or network intrusion prevention system that can automatically shut down ports or connectivity. Again, we want to do so to mitigate the risk, not necessarily shut the business down. But these automated systems can say, hey, okay, if someone jacks into the wall, they plug in, it's going to test their laptop or their device automatically and say, you need to have this level of antivirus protection, anti-malware protection, you need to have these patches installed, etc., etc., etc. And if you don't, then you're going to be quarantined and put into a cordoned off section of our network where you can download the latest patches and you can update yourself, but you can't interact with any other area on the network. All right, so that's a quarantine type of situation proactively. Or you can have a quarantine method set up so that as soon as a specific breach or a specific infection is actually identified, then that system is pulled off the network and put into that quarantine section where they can't interact with anything else. So you want to try to mitigate the spread of any type of infection as quickly as possible. And then device removal. We want to make sure that evidence handling procedures are followed, right? We want to make sure that we preserve evidence for forensic examination or for prosecution. Again, if someone brings a laptop in to, say, the help desk because they're infected with a piece of malware or a virus or ransomware, maybe their hard drive is encrypted and now they can't do anything with it, don't just turn around and re-image that laptop and give it back to them, because then you've destroyed any evidentiary value. You can't now look at that and say, okay, this is where it came from, log files and so forth, especially if they're patient zero, quote unquote, and that virus is spread or that ransomware is spread to other areas of your network. If you have no point of entry now, it makes it much more difficult to try and backtrack and try to go forward forensically. So take that laptop, put it off to the side, make sure it's handled properly as far as evidence is concerned. Get the security teams involved, right off the bat, make sure they can image it and then forensically examine versus just re-imaging it and handing it back to the employee.